Hello, Fightful Faithful. Welcome to another episode of Sour Graps, Halloween Havoc edition. I'm wearing my spooky shirt. I have the one spooky. It's the monsters. It's the Reservoir Monsters. That's what they called it on the website where I got it from. Everything sucks, dear listeners, dear viewers. Everything sucks. Not everything, but
like a lot, though.
Like a lot enough sucks that everything sucks. With me, as always, is Kate. Kate's here. Hey, everybody. Let's talk about NXT. This Halloween Havoc, Shawn Michaels has said they want it to be their SummerSlam. NXT, they want that Stand and Deliver, apparently, is now the permanent name for the play for NXT that happens around Mania.
At 11 in the morning.
Yes.
Or whatever. Guys, also get in your super chats and get in your humper chats before we dive into this to talk about your thoughts, to get your questions or statement read on air. If you're watching on Twitch, send us your bits. I'm hoping the jukebox is long tonight because I feel like so much of this entire pay-per-view was just there. But please leave a thumbs up on this video as well. And subscribe to Fightful Select, of course. But yeah, man, if this is supposed to be their SummerSlam.
Well, this is their first attempt at it since they decreed it. And I don't think they had the horses to necessarily now I'm not talking about the wrestlers. I'm talking about the storylines. I'm talking about like things we want to see. There were some stuff that I was watching and I was like, well, why do I care about this? Like, why is it a thing that like the storylines have been handled so poorly, or the people who are involved in them are just way too good for this crap? And then so much of it, that was a 3-hour show. And so much of it felt like nothing was happening. Like,
no, this pacing wise, I felt like dragged a lot. Like, I don't know if it was the sequencing. I feel like it started, like it opened and closed with the right things, but those were also the high points of the show. So what was in the middle, it was just, it was crawling, man. Like there were some standouts, like Julius Creed is always going to be super impressive. I thought a lot of the things that happened to the ladder match, other than Von Wagner, were great. But I also think it's just dangerous to say, like, this is going to be our SummerSlam, because I feel like the point of NXT is to call people up. Like, you're not going to have control necessarily if things are going well. Like, people are going to be getting called up at various points. Maybe they do feel like they have control over it because on the main roster, nothing like of consequence is really happening this time of year. So maybe they feel good about it that way. But I feel like I feel like that's just a dangerous game to play, to be like, that's going to be a big pay-per-view. And it's like, well, what if a bunch of really important people just got called up 3 months ago or whatever, or 2 months ago? You're not going to be able to replenish at that time. But per usual, like, some really great in-ring action. I think in NXT strength, even through the lowest eras, has been their ladder matches, because people will just go all out for them. But yeah, a lot of questionable booking, and the storyline's just not like getting paid off because they didn't have enough momentum going into it. I think it's a little bit tricky.
Yes. Jeremy Pringle saying, to be honest, I forgot all about this play. Ick. That was yucky to say. He doesn't like saying play. Much love to all of SGS. Kalex is amazing. Papa Paul Elizabeth is the bestest. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that we will get into. There were a couple of things here. There was sent. There's something sent here from yesterday. Jorge Rosas said, "Love you guys. Keep up the good work. Alex is hot."
It's true.
bring Sasha and Nia back. Well, I mean, halfway. I agree with you. Damage Kataro versus Team Bad, and if more, and if more. Logan or his brother win, we all riot. There you go. That's Logan Paul.
Yeah, I mean Jake Paul better not win because he's not even near anything right now. But
that's true.
But
that's
yeah,
true.
I think the truest part of that is Alex, you're hot. I think you're hot. I'm hot. We're all really hot here at Fightful. That was established week over week. So send in money because we're all really hot.
There was a little preview deal of Chucky narrating an opening thing, and he was like, there are gonna be ladders and weapons and caskets, oh my, or whatever he said. And I was like, oh man, you gave away the spin the wheel, make the deal. You gave it away because to me, Kate, it was not possible that they were going to not spin the wheel on the show that I'm watching. They spun the wheel and also made the deal on the pre-show, Kate, and I find that the first thing of the many things this evening to be unconscionable. You have to spin the wheel right before the match. We know those guys already know what the stipulation is, but we need to see the heel realize, oh no, I'm going to be put in a casket for sure. We got to see that. It's part of pro wrestling. To have them do it in the pre-show, not allowed. Just not allowed.
So I will say that I, for Halloween Havoc, am always signed up for corny because they have set the expectation that it should be corny. So I am all over that. I will buy into the cheese. You want to make it as corny as a Broadway musical. For Halloween Havoc, I'm here for that, but I'm not here for like bad booking decisions still and like some not great things in between the ropes on a couple of occasions, unfortunately. But I was so disappointed that I mean, I was also watching my Yankees lose, which was rough. So I was already in a mood. And then to find out that the wheel had already been spun because I didn't watch the pre-show, that was just heartbreaking.
Yeah. It was odd.
Give me the cheese. Bring on the cheese. The cheeseburgers.
They brought the cheese. They brought Quincy Elliott, the Super Diva, and they brought out Shotzi. And I thought for a very long while during this, was that it? Did they bring out Shotzi to host and she was like, ladies and gentlemen, Halloween Havoc, and then a really bad Joker laugh and a werewolf howl, and then that was it for Shotzi? And
it was like a
and was Quincy Elliott the co-host, being that they just got to introduce Shotzi and that was it? They had a thing later, but it was much later in the night, and I was like, that's not really hosting.
No, it felt like when on Saturday Night Live when somebody introduced the musical guest, but like the spooky version. It was like, ladies and gentlemen, the weekend. But that was Shotzi in this initial segment.
Well, listen, I can't say no to this. It says, show us your clavicle, scrummy man in the headphones. There you go. That's some hot clavicle action there. There you go. And also we got a something from last night as well. Actually, we sent it this morning from CO who says, your masculine wiles got me. Oh, the clavs. I got clavicle cleavage and I'm not afraid to use it. So
if you're not joining us on Fightful Select, you're just not having fun.
You're just not having fun. Chi-Town Spurs says, I feel bad because that kind of sucked. There was everything that was in control, I felt like, of the wrestlers, except for maybe one really, really bad looking spot in the Cora and Roxanne match. I felt like it was in control of the wrestlers. Okay, this was all pretty good. From pretty good to downright great. Anything that was in control of the people backstage, who we should be able to trust to not make these kind of mistakes, kind of felt bad. That's the problem. You know what I mean?
And it handcuffs plays like this. And I would argue there was definitely a spot in the ladder match from Von Wagner that was not great. That was in the wrestler's control. Oh no. They almost had a lawsuit on their hands, like centimeters away from that.
Yep. So I don't know what this is reference to. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no, that's right. There you go. From the hosting. Shotzi Blackheart hosting Hee Haw. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty. So I like that CO is actually helping us out here. Says, so Taboo Tuesday picks Wes Lee to face Carmelo Hayes. So he can get jumped and Solo wins the title. The title's forfeited. Only for it to end up with Wes Lee anyway. What? That's a very good question. Like Wes Lee was supposed to get a one-on-one match with Carmelo Hayes, but you didn't want Wes Lee to pin Carmelo Hayes, so you did this whole rigmarole instead. Is a weird choice.
I do think whatever happened with Solo was a weird, unplanned thing because he dropped it a week later. It was vacated, and he had side plates. So somebody had a theory, and it seems like the most likely one to me that they were like, that Fox was like, we're not pushing NXT on here. Are you kidding me? We're not pushing a USA Network show on Fox.
Yeah.
No thanks. Which I think is a very plausible situation because that was very weird to have it that whole week of the way things transpired. For him to have side plates on his belt already made me think that he was going to have gold on the main roster and it was going to be the NXT gold and he was going to float back and forth. That obviously didn't happen. So I have a little bit of forgiveness around it in that way. This does seem like a roundabout way to get there, but I think it's a really, really, really good move to put it on him. It was one of the few good moves that we saw tonight. And I believe the only title change that we saw tonight, and it's not even a title change because it was a vacated championship. So it was the only thing of real consequence that happened here as well. But I thought most of the opening match was fantastic.
It was because here's the deal. Like as I said, you would never be able to catch me saying that I was a Von Wagner fan. But you need a big guy in this match to throw people into ladders, to throw ladders at people. At one point, to throw a man from inside the ring over the announce table. Now, you don't need that. And I would argue with Wes Lee, you do not have to take bumps like that for that guy in this match. Nobody gives a damn about Von Wagner. He's an afterthought. As a professional wrestler, you're not getting him over by having him throw you in. You could have died, man. Like, let's not do those bumps for that guy in this match. If you're putting over a brand new star or if it's a big time title defense or whatever in the main event of WrestleMania, argue with me about it then. But this was not necessary. But that's what these matches are. Let's do the craziest bumps possible. There were a few of them that they're in honor of the fact that for this week's episode of Get the Flick Out of Here on the Know Your News new YouTube channel, we reviewed The Burbs. One of my favorite line readings in the history of cinema is Tom Hanks saying, I've never seen that. I've never seen somebody drive their garbage out to the street and then bang the hell out of it with a stick. I've never seen that. I've never seen a man voluntarily do a Spanish fly off the second rope, like do a lion salt while carrying another guy doing a lion salt, but instead of landing on somebody, you land doing a full belly bump on an unprotected ladder. I've never seen that. Nathan Frazer, if Bob is your uncle, he stands to inherit all of your money because you're going to die doing that stuff, man. Stop it. That was ridiculous. Some of these spots were amazing and crazy, and everybody got to shine. And it's these multi-man ladder matches. The very first one for the NXT North American Championship, where the first one was crowned, that one stands out to me as something similar. You're never going to hear me say that I was a really big fan of Lars Sullivan, but he had to be in the match to throw guys at ladders, throw ladders at other guys, and do crazy strength spots. And then everybody else was bouncing off each other, going crazy. That stands out to me still years later as one of my favorite multi-man ladder matches. This one was really good. Didn't raise to that standard, but it was really good. And Wes Lee doing a Shelton Benjamin climbing up a leaned up ladder to jump onto the thing to eventually win it. was really great. Carmelo Hayes not retaining. Moving on up to the SmackDown side, to the blue side, to a deluxe apartment with Hit Row. I don't know that for sure, but they need a third guy to help them on their match on Friday, so I'm not really sure. The ladder match was certainly a highlight. It now, because their tag stuff is so in such a bad place in NXT that they don't even get to be on the takeovers. They're not takeovers anymore. But like, imagine 5 years ago, 6 years ago, there being a takeover where there wasn't a 15 to 25 minute amazing tag team title match. You can't, because it never happened. And so now they're so bad that they're like, we can't even put them on the plat. So we're going to do the crazy multi-man spot fest to start the show. And that seems to be what they're doing now, especially with Shawn Michaels in charge.
Yeah, they did a similar one. I feel like Stand and Deliver is a really comparable one, where that one might have been a little stronger, because I feel like there were stories that came out of that were pretty strong as well, if I remember, which again was the the only thing story-wise that was great about the Stand and Deliver, which had incredible in-ring action. But I'm glad it went to Wesley. I think that's a really good call. I felt like him or Frazer would have made sense. Yep. Frazer would have made sense. Von Wagner, God bless him. God bless the man. There's a small ladder. He's the only guy in the ring. The ring is clear. There's a small ladder on the side, which he completely ignores, to go for a giant ladder that's under the ring.
Yeah.
The title is suspended above the ring. He's a real tall dude. He could have used a step ladder to grab that thing, but he was like, that normal ladder isn't good enough. I'm going to go get this giant ladder. And then he didn't have enough room between the curtain or the apron to pull it out from under and the audience. And he almost hit somebody in the audience. Dude, like... keeping your opponent safe, keeping your audience safe, the most important thing in the whole wide world. One involved.
We said we weren't going to wear costumes tonight, but I decided to be Von Wagner. I think the less said about Von Wagner and his inexplicable cornrows, the better. It was not he's not helped by how much the announce team is told to love him. Like Booker T saying, this man right here is 300 pounds of solid muscle. When he was introduced to us a year ago, he said, I'm Von Wagner. I'm 6'5" and 255 pounds.
Which isn't like that much bigger than like Duke Hudson.
That's like that. You know what that is? That's Randy Orton. Randy Orton is 6'5", 255. This man is 300 pounds of solid muscle. No, he's not. And then later he's standing in the middle of the ring by himself. And Vic Joseph says he could just jump up there and get the title. So Vic Joseph implying that he's 9 feet tall. But I love that Booker T's like, well, he's not quite that tall. Like Booker T is like, this man is 300 pounds of solid muscle. Here's Vic Joseph's ridiculous hyperbole and goes, settle down. Because that's not allowed. That's not okay.
Alex, if we had played a drinking game of every time Booker T says this person has all the tools or they want it, I would not be.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. I would not be on this post show because I would be hospitalized for liver failure. Not adding anything to I would say overall the commentary switch up experiment has not gone well. Monday nights are not very good.
Right.
Fridays are all right with Cole and Wade Barrett, but this duo at commentary is not working for me at all. But yeah, Von Wagner cornrows not great.
I'm Van Wagner. Jay Pringles, I don't have enough forehead to cosplay Van Wagner. Hold on. Do I?
I was gonna say, you're a bald man. You can kind of draw your own lines there.
It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Kyle Ken says, I like the ladder match, triple threat, everything else was mid. Listen, I said this on Twitter. Good for Wesley. That guy's been through a lot. And
handled all of it with grace.
Handled all of it with grace.
Acknowledged it with some really great promos in story too. Like, very, very well done.
I'm happy for him. He absolutely deserves this. This is great for him. I hope they start booking him as champ better than they were booking him when he was trying to be champ. I don't know what it is. I don't have the effort in my fingers to go to cagematch.net and start looking up what his win-loss record is, but it feels like 5-30. Like, I don't remember, like, every time he would lose in matches to Trick Williams. Like, he's not, like, I thought the whole thing was finally he gets a one-on-one match with Carmelo Hayes, despite everything else, all the other setbacks. He gets a one-on-one match with Carmelo Hayes and he beats him for the title. That's what I thought the story was. But it seems like you didn't want to pin Carmelo Hayes before he goes up to the main roster. That's what it seemed like to me. So you came up with all of this other horseshit to get there.
Which is silly because everybody goes out on their back.
Yeah. Yes. There you go. Yes. After the Von Wagner thing, when he hit somebody in the head, or nearly did, or whatever, in the audience. God, we all know if this was AEW, you know the WWE shows would be calling for an FBI, SVU, Homeland, NCIS, UN investigation and arrest. It was a little aggressive. It's a little aggressive, and I think we needed to have a little talk with Mr. Wagner.
It was just a lack of spatial awareness. Like it's nothing more than that. But like that's a mistake you can't make.
I was joking about having a talk with him. I won't have a talk with Oral Messiah, who like nearly died. Like he did the spot where you, instead of riding the ladder all the way down, you jump off it and try to do a crossbody. All of that went wrong. All of that went wrong. He's very lucky he did not die on that spot. That's what I'm talking about. Like, these guys are all going to kill themselves. Hopefully not literally, to do the spot fest that this event requires to kick off a night of what, 6 matches in 3 hours. And it requires them to do this. Kyo Ken saying, I like that. Everything Triple F, everything else was mid. I think I did read that before. I have to say this because Sean's told me I have to say it. Luis! He says I'm supposed to say that. Jake Salazar saying Von Wagner was looking like Rachel Dolezal. Again, the less said about his choice to wear cornrows in a match where he was facing 3 black gentlemen, and where there was another on the outside, very prominently featured in the match. It's choice. It's a choice. Yes, and Luis saying, to quote Lance Archer, everybody dies. Let's hope not literally next time you guys do this. But Alba Fyre apparently sent a little message to the Toxic Girls earlier tonight. Come find me at a haunted house. I missed the message. Like, I wasn't paying attention to it. I thought it was a straight up, like, I'm going to beat you tonight at Halloween Havoc, and when I do, I'm going to hit you in the face with my flaming baseball bat. And I just thought that was what it was. I didn't know she invited him somewhere. So when they all got in a car, I was very confused.
No, it was like... It was perfectly fine. It was just a video message that said, like, hey, meet me at this haunted house. But the way commentary threw it to it, too, made it sound like they were like, Alba Fyre has a message. And she was like, hey, meet me at this haunted house. I was like,
Vern Wagner looked like Riff Raff. He looked like Riff Raff. He did. He did. I do know who Rachel Dolezal is. I do.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a big deal a while back. Yes, perhaps... JC Jane does not like haunted houses. She does not like being scared. JC Jane is Kate.
Yeah, she's like, if I want to scare myself, I'll go on a roller coaster. I don't need to go to this haunted house.
No.
Hard pass.
Jake Salazar, no. Just no, but thank you. Gigi Dolan loves haunted houses, loves being scared, loves Halloween, super into it. And Mandy Rose is just like, no nonsense. Let's find her, beat her up, and drag her ass back to the ring so we can pin her and I can win. But I do love that Luis has entitled this in the rundown as Alba Fyre presents Luigi's Haunted Mansion featuring Toxic Attraction. Because it was a decent little, like,
I'm fine with this here on Halloween Havoc. Like, this is fine. And I liked Gigi saying, like, hey, actually, I'm into this because the numbers game is in our favor. Like, I loved the naivety of, it's in a haunted house. What could possibly go wrong? The numbers game is in our favor. And it's Halloween Havoc. This is, I think it ran a little long. It probably could have been a little shorter, but like, but this is harmless on a show like Halloween Havoc. It's better than most of their like backstage cheese because it's supposed to be cheesy. It's Halloween Havoc.
Yes. Ali, if I wanted to scare myself, I'd watch NXT 2.0. So
booking was the spookiest thing on the show.
Yeah. We'll start here. Alba Fyre has apparently everybody who works at this haunted house, unless you're going to say they're actual ghosts and goblins and monsters and slashers, everyone who works at this haunted house is in on it with Alba Fyre. They also hate Toxic Attraction. And their whole point is, let's lure all of them here so I can make sure the two who always help her win get stranded here, and then I'm going to take Mandy back there. I did appreciate JC Jane hating everything and being easily duped into like, oh my god, everything's so scary, and Gigi Dolan sitting down at a table putting her feet up like, what are we doing, having a tea party, guys? How's it going? You need some dental work there, pal. And I liked that there was a difference between the two of them. But I mean, Gigi Dolan got thrown in a freezer. Eventually, she finds Mandy Rose. There's a fight. It's fun. It's a weird little haunted house bit. Fine, but she's able to beat them up with a baseball bat. Gigi and JC, who come back again after being taken prisoner. She beats them up with a baseball bat. She says, "You know how you always see there's toxic attraction and then everybody else. I'm not everybody else. So you worked with everybody at this haunted house. It was your idea to lure them all here to make sure that the two stooges can't get back to the arena to help out Mandy Rose. You make a declarative statement. I'm not everybody else. We're doing this match one-on-one on my terms. Let's go, Mandy." And you drive her back to the arena. This is all on your terms. And I was like, well, it looks like Toxic Attraction is due for a main roster call-up. Because there's no way you intentionally cut the legs out from under Alba Fyre forever by having her set this whole thing up, put the whole thing in motion, have it work perfectly up until the match, and then have the rules of time and space and travel no longer apply, so the Stooges get back involved and help Mandy Rose win the actual match and retain, thereby, again, cutting the legs out from Alba Fyre forever. There's no way you would actually do that. Spoiler alert, they did that, but we'll talk more about that later.
Okay, I don't know what's wrong with you that you thought they were hired actors and not actually goblins and ghouls and the such. Of course they were. It's a haunted house. The house is haunted, Alex. It's spooky. It's scary. They're not hired actors. The house is haunted.
Right.
They're real. Don't be naive.
It's true.
Second of all, I agree. And I would also go a step further and say that it undercuts Mandy Rose's credibility in this fashion too. To have,
yes, it does.
Like, just have the one-on-one match, and if you want Mandy to go over, just have her go over. Like, it would make her
be the
look
better
like
wrestler,
a stronger champion. And if you're gonna run this, put some respect on my name crap into the ground. A great way to do that would be to have her win without needing the assistance of her lackeys, who were justifiably not there because one was in a freezer, and I forget what happened to JC Jane. But I did also appreciate, I think it was JC Jane who was like, we're not splitting up. What are you, an idiot? Have you ever seen a horror movie? That was cute too, that popped. Yes. So this segment was perfectly fine. I wish they had paid it off properly later, but like, I liked the cheese. I'll take the cheese.
Orion says, just a quick drop in to wish you all a good show. Thank you, Orion Ben.
Thanks, Orion Ben.
Alan Can saying, obviously Gigi feels right at home, sitting down for dinner with goblins and the undead. She was married to Darby Allin.
She's like, why isn't anybody in here doing any stunts? I'm confused.
Gigi, come sit down for dinner. I made spooky things.
You had me till spooky things.
It's cold spaghetti, so it's brains. Yummy brains.
Have these grapes that are peeled that I pretended are eyeballs. Malachi Black.
It's weird that he calls his wife Malachi Black, but it's just a weird thing he does. Jake Salazar saying, Von Wagner really came to the ring looking like Kevin Federline in 2006.
I immediately get flashbacks to the Jericho cruise because all the white girls get their hair braided in the Caribbean. And that I don't need to see that or Von Wagner on the Jericho cruise. I need neither of those things in my life.
Right. It's a casket match. Kate,
it's a double casket match, Alex.
Let's talk about this, Kate. In Lucha Underground, there was something they called a grave consequences match. Okay. Where 4 gigantic, like sturdy, like metal or like really, really hard wood coffins with beautiful, like velvet, like lining were all placed on, like they were big enough. They were almost the entire length of one side of the ring, and they were placed on all 4 sides, and you had to get somebody into one of them. And they were used primarily to like power bomb guys onto the lids and everything. And those things didn't move at all. It was a great go. Like if people who have access to Lucha Underground or who watched it, and you remember Lucha Underground grave consequences matches, Phoenix was in one versus Mil Muertes. Ricochet as Prince Puma was in one against Mil Muertes' thing because he was a zombie wrestler. So, of course, he would have the grave consequences match. Anyway, there's a way to do it with multiple caskets that makes some kind of sense. Here's what doesn't make sense, Kate, I would argue. A, druids, just random druids bringing out a casket. And they brought it out, and then we had this 15-minute excursion cinematic thing where all the girls went to the haunted house. But like the druids brought out the first casket, and then they just stood there because after the whole thing played, then they all left. And the casket I was looking at, I was like, that's a really flimsy looking casket. Is that the casket? Because I remember like the Undertaker would have like big ornate. I know it's Grayson Waller is not the Undertaker, but I remember like them having a bigger, nicer casket. And I was like, that's weird. That looks really flimsy. How many minutes into the match? 6, 7? Apollo Crews falls onto the top of the casket and falls through it into the casket. But the rules stipulate you must put a man in the casket and then close the lid on top of them. And Grayson Waller thinks, well, I've won the match, haven't I? Because I put him in the casket. It doesn't matter that I can't close the door on him. He fell through the door. I win. And the ref's like, no, I'm sorry. We're going to have to restart the match. And Grayson Waller justifiably says, how can we do that? And they say, oh, it's okay. Druids. And the druids bring out another casket. It's a much bigger, much sturdier. It's got hinges, like it's actually supposed to open and close where the other one wasn't. So you intentionally had a bunch of extras dressed cheaply like druids bring out a pine box that you wouldn't bury your worst enemy's dog in, had Apollo Crews go through it intentionally to do a dusty finish in a casket match, just so you can then bring out the real casket and have a much longer casket match happen after the first one. What is that?
Bad is what it is. I also pink eye Apollo Crews Visions guy. Just stop. Just stop. Just let him have his normal eyes. Like, we got that weird vignette before this. The Druids, I thought Joe Gacy was coming out because it just feels like, how many Druids can you possibly have in a one show? And like, again, it's Halloween Havoc, so I saw the Druids. I was like, okay, horny. I wish it was horny Halloween. At least somebody would be excited about
Halloween Havoc.
My God. I didn't know if that was just because I had our segues opened up for the ads that we have tonight. We'll get there. But I meant to say corny Halloween things. So I was like, all right, Druids, whatever. Then bringing out a crappy casket. Even if they were just two of the same quality casket, I could have bought into it a little bit more. But to do that felt stupid. I actually thought the rest of the match was pretty good. I thought this was like Grayson Waller's looking better and better in the ring. I still think his dumb finisher is dumb, and the character's not for me, but like ring wise, he's pretty good. He's a really good seller. I thought him and Apollo Crews had really good chemistry, and I felt like, what was the impetus to not just do a normal casket match here? Like, why?
Like, literally, Shawn Michaels put a dusty finish in a casket match. That's a level of overbooking that I didn't think was possible.
It's almost impressive.
Because a regular casket match sucks. Let's be honest. It sucks because the whole thing is built around put a guy in a casket, try and close it on him, he stops it from closing, and you repeat that with both guys 7 times. It is a version of the I Quit match or the Last Man Standing match, but instead of holding a microphone to their face or counting 10 really slowly, you have the guy get in the casket, stop the lid from closing, get out, put the other guy in the lid, try to close it, he stops it from closing, and you just do that for
Alex,
20 minutes.
You know what is even more similar to than either of the matches you mentioned?
What's that?
An ambulance match.
Well, the thing is, I'm going to bring that up when we get there, because it's kind of unconscionable that they did this. But here's the deal. It was the casket, the second one. Certainly not the first one. The second one. It would be one thing if they broke the first casket and they had a second one just hanging out in case this happened. But they brought out the worst version of the casket first, and then brought out a much better one. Why didn't you start with the much better one? Okay. This one's big enough for both guys to get in and to try and kick each other like two brothers who hate each other in a wading pool, just kicking each other like this, like it's basically this, but with your feet. You're just kicking each other like this. So they did that for a while, and eventually we got Grayson Waller put in there, and Apollo Crews closed it, and this is the end of the feud. Yes, and Apollo Crews can move on to reasons why he came to NXT again in the first place. Yes, because all of this from the beginning of like clairvoyant diner vigilante, like from the very beginning of that, it was all ruined from the very beginning. Get him away from all of that bullshit and have him just have great matches. Like the next guy that Bron Breakker should defend the title against is Apollo Crews, and you'll never convince, unless Carmelo Hayes is staying down there and your idea is let's feud the two top guys in NXT against each other, which I'm fine with. But I think Carmelo Hayes is probably destined for a move to the main roster. And if he is, the next guy he defends against should be Apollo Crews. Like, let's get that's why he's there. It's unfinished business. He said so in a promo. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, the gap from that first promo when he came back of, hey, the Nigerian accent thing was weird and stupid, and like acknowledging that and saying he had unfinished business to a guy that has visions was so weird. I really can't handle anymore. Like, I mean, Halloween Havoc, yes, but like the visions gimmick, like I can't I can't deal with any more guys that aren't just normal human beings to some extent. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I actually felt like this was a stronger showing from Waller without all of the goofiness. And it's like there was all this corniness and slip of the tongue. I said horniness. And it was like, well, maybe they went with corny instead of horny because they can't, Alex. Like maybe they need assistance in that department. Maybe they need help from their friends at Blue Chew.
Don't you just hate when you're at the pharmacy and you're picking up your erection pills and the lady behind the desk goes, hee hee hee, hee hee hee. Well, you don't have to worry about that with BlueChew.com and the code FIGHTFUL. That's because when you sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with one of their medical providers, licensed, and when you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. No waiting in line at the pharmacy. You don't have to deal with that receptionist. No waiting in line at the doctor's office. Don't got to deal with that receptionist either, where you show up there and then like 30 minutes later, you're not even in the room. And right now, BlueChew.com, which uses the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but at a fraction of the cost and a chewable tablet, is giving you your first month free. Use the code FIGHTFUL at checkout. All you got to do is pay $5 shipping, and then your package will arrive. Boo!
Oh, Jesus Christ! I was literally DMing you back. I was so annoyed.
I'm in the same shirt, too.
Oh, my gosh. That was spookier than anything that happened on the show. I was DMing you back as your ad was playing. You sneaky SOB.
So
Hi, Sean.
I just got off of the Shawn Michaels call. Oh my God, these are a blast. He is fantastic on those. Like, he is just so much fun because he has no idea how to speak their business speak, and he doesn't even lie about it. He's like, by the way, I am getting a note that NXT Deadline is on December 10th. And when you write it in your articles, make it sound like I said it a lot smoother than that. But so I'm here to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of like what he said on that. He full stop, just outright was transparent. He's like, yeah, T-Bar's coming back. Dijak is coming back because I asked him. He's like, I'm very excited about it. He's like, we lost him in 2020 and we didn't think we were going to lose him, but this stuff came together really quick. They discovered pretty quickly they weren't going to do anything with him. And Johnny Russo, the head writer, pitched for it. Oh my God. Just outright said it. Yeah. And I find that refreshing because we all know, and he's not cheating
for your job. I would think it would be nice if he like had a reveal of some sort on the program.
Nah.
You don't have to work as hard. And
we all know, and anybody that's listening to that conference call probably knows too. And plus, everybody who's watched Main Event, which is very clearly a ton of people, knows that as well. But that made me happy because that's like a sense of transparency we haven't seen in a while. Like Tony Khan did that a lot early on. Now he kind of goes into promoter mode. Triple H would kind of just avoid every question altogether. But Sean also says he believes he's bald because of all the bad things he's done over the years, which, Alex, you've got some explaining to do.
I mean, I hadn't heard that as the cause.
You want to tell me about all the GHB you used to do in the 90s, Alex?
Alex is also bald because of a lot of the bad things Sean has done. Just a different set of bad things that HBK has done. Ripping out his hair.
So he also is very happy for Wesley. He said that this night took like 10 years off of his life. He even joked that they don't get to say gimmick matches anymore, then says it anyway. Says they're stipulation matches. He's a big fan of JD, but he really highlighted Braun Breaker, and he was like, I remember when I was a year in, and I think I had my first main event against Chavo Guerrero Sr., and this guy has been main eventing PLEs and stuff, and people just assume, look at his last name. He'll be fine. He's like, no, it's actually very hard to do what he does. but he doesn't see them doing cinematic stuff very much. He said that because it's Halloween Havoc, the B-movie element kind of fits there, but he doesn't think that they're going to do it often. And he said that he would find it very, very hard to even do those because he's so reactionary based on the audience that it's, it'd be more difficult. And he said, he has an interesting quote. This is one of many things he probably wasn't supposed to say, but he goes, "I know I'm not supposed to say this, but we're all marks here and I'm fine with that." He's like, everybody wanted to end up with a title around their waist. I was like, okay, cool. He just blurted out that NXT Japan and Mexico are coming, by the way. Those are coming next year. He said it on the call.
This is his last conference call.
Completely
for sure.
unprompted. I loved it. Because all that happened was somebody said, "Are you all going to travel for weekly shows?" And he's like, "Probably the PLEs, not the shows. NXT Mexico and Japan next year." Pretty much just said that. He was like, likely, possible. And then he's like, they're probably just coming. They'll probably announce that. He's amazing on these. And he also says that he believes that the sweet spot is 2.5 hours for these shows. Usually they do 5 matches. And you can see the WCW influence on this because if you ever heard Eric Bischoff talk, he said that he felt like Halloween Havoc was maybe their second or third biggest show. And for me as a kid, I was like, oh, this is a cartoonish show. WCW didn't think that. They thought that it was like Starrcade, Super Brawl, Halloween Havoc, and Sean indicated that as well. And the refreshing thing is just how open to input he is. Just social media, the audience, the media. He's like, tell me, do you guys think it was too long? Because if it is, we'll probably go back and look at it and just decide that's too long and stick with our sweet spot. Also, he said that about the T-Bar thing too. He's like, we see the stuff on social media, and he's like, we want to let people know that we're listening to that as well. So that was
blocks everyone, but okay.
He unblocked me, so that's all that matters.
Oh, okay.
So he definitely listened to that. But yeah, he's really, really great on these calls. We have the audio going up. We have the video going up. But yeah, I got people on my Twitter mentioned saying, will there be a replay of the media scrum somewhere? As if I hadn't promoted it 10 times.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, that's over there. But I also wanted to come by and give you guys kind of the scoop on all the pertinent stuff that he said because you guys are watching this show and all that. But
was this guy on the call? Is Sean Mopsap? Did he ask any questions?
Why does it have a soul patch?
I don't know.
You would have to ask
whose eyes are those?
You'd have to ask Ali Cease. Because
those are not my eyes, are
no,
they?
they're not. No, we're trying to find all the different Moppelgangers because that's obviously Edge, and then that's Kate.
She was at my house like 2 nights ago. Why didn't she mention this?
I don't know. This is from like a couple of weeks ago, but she got mad at us the last time you were on and we didn't show you your Moppelganger. So there it is.
They claim they're my eyes, but that's definitely not my beard. I've never let my beard get like that. So she had to go find a PNG beard file somewhere.
Yep.
So
she
listen,
put a lot of work into these.
Which one was it? Allie or Emily?
Allie, I think.
Okay. Well, I hope, Allie, that every time you go to search for images, they are WebP files.
The worst.
And I hope that that's what you have to experience on a daily basis, are WebP files. But enjoy the show, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Bye.
Jump scare, Sean Scat. Get out of my way.
What were we going to talk about? Oh yeah, this one.
So open to social media. You blocked me for saying that Brett was better than Sean, and I didn't include Tag's last name.
Paulo Cruz has pink eye? No, it's red eye.
It's like his blood vision eye, but it looks like he has pink eye.
He's blood vision eye. That's what he's got.
Some dog farted on his eyeball, and now he's got pink eye.
Luis says, can confirm that you can watch Lucha Underground on Pluto TV via the El Rey network, which is cool. It's a free app you can get. You can go to Pluto.tv or something like that on like a web browser. Is it because all those channels are like they play everything on a loop. Like there's an Impact Wrestling channel on Pluto TV which just like plays random episodes of TNA or TNA pay-per-views and like with no rhyme or reason. You just like tune in and go, hey, look, it's Kurt Angle versus Sting. You gotta watch a match. Anyway. So JB Pringle says, listen to you guys talk about the PLE yuck. I
think we read this already.
Seems like a cover band saying, anyway, here's Wonderwall. Okay.
I don't know what
anyway,
that
here's Wonderwall. Yes, Kate just pooped herself when Sean ran in.
I did not. If anything, I would have peed myself, but I did not.
No, okay.
So I give him that credit.
Jake Salazar says, if being bad means you go bald, Jake Salazar says Sean's scalp should be missing after some bad decisions tonight. Yep. We'll talk about that. Jake Salazar also says Shawn Michaels giving Billy Corgan a run for his money as worst booker of the year. It's not that. It's not that bad. It's just he gets in his own way sometimes. It's just Shawn just
overdone.
Overdone.
A dusty finish in the casket match is a perfect example of just trying
doing
way too much.
I would never have the stick-to-itiveness to actually write a book. But if I were to write a book about the NXT 2.0 era, I would call it Overbooked and Undercooked. That's what I would call it. So there is a Chase U segment for some reason in which Andre Chase yells at a student irrationally. I don't know why. Because that guy didn't know the location of Halloween Havoc 95, he says, but he says really mean things to the student. We're supposed to root for Andre Chase. Jake Salazar says, please explain to me what the H was that Motel 6 college class backstage segment. Who were those bums? Why did it happen? And whose idea was this nonsense? And why are they still producing? That's Andre Chase. He runs a university called Chase University. It doesn't make any sense. It never has. There are two named characters that are wrestlers who are his students. One of them is Thea Hale, who was like 18 years old. And the other one is Bodie Hayward, who I have no idea. But he's the surfer dude, and he doesn't like that Duke Hudson is a transfer student. He says out loud in the middle of the class to everybody, but Mr. Chase, I hate transfer students. Xenophobic much?
What a weird thing to declare in class in a segment of all of these dumb ones. This one I thought was actually a little bit better, but I'll let you get through it before explaining why it was
Duke Hudson
passable to me.
Went to the main roster and did a main event, and he lost to Cedric Alexander. Duke Hudson is better than all of this. I'm going to keep on saying it. He's there. He answers a question correctly after Bodie Hayward answered it incorrectly, and twice actually incorrectly twice, and then he saved him, said the right one. And so Bodie Hayward hates Duke Hudson is a storyline that we are going to get on television, in which I guarantee you, we are going to get Bodie Hayward hating how much Duke Hudson is favored by Andre Chase. He's going to become Andre Chase's new teacher's pet, even though Duke Hudson really doesn't have respect for Andre Chase. And eventually that's going to come out because Bodie Hayward videotapes him talking bad about Andre Chase. And then Andre Chase and Bodie and Duke Hudson are going to have a match. And Andre Chase is going to beat him in the match because Duke Hudson beat up Bodie Hayward or something. That whole storyline will last until WrestleMania.
Okay, that I don't want. But as far as the segment that happened tonight, if I have to accept that this is on my screen, this is one of the way better ones, I think, because there was clarity around what was happening. They were learning about wrestling history, right? And Andre Chase didn't randomly hate his students. He just wanted them to know the material that he was teaching. So that makes sense. And the classroom is being used to set up a feud, which is something that I swear to God has literally never happened in the entire history of Chase University. There has never been a student that argued with another student that led to an on-screen feud. There was never, like, Andre Chase and Bodie I think ended up facing someone as a part of Chase U, but like no one ever was like, hey, did anyone notice our professor loses all the time? And then they had to fight about that. Like, it's never actually been used to set up a feud. So while this still falls under what we've lovingly been calling like Schlocktober, this was a better one of these segments if you're going to stick this with me, because it at least like made sense. And also Duke Hudson is really good at this. Like, he came in and he was like the smarmy newcomer, and like
he's also 35, and I don't understand why he's actually in this particular class.
No. That is all stupid. But like, I'm also, if I'm going as far as to buy that Chase University has a history wrestling course, like he played the like confident new guy who knows exactly what he's doing their thing extremely well, and like I feel like he did enough with it that I was at least remotely appetized by what was on TV. I think I just like seeing Duke Hudson on my TV. I think he's a skilled professional wrestler and really good at this, but like even the way he was sitting and stuff, like I kind of got a kick out of it. And again, it's Halloween Havoc, so I'm expecting cheesy stuff. When this goes back to just being on weekly episodic television, I'm not going to be as forgiving, but it at least made sense.
Jake saying, wait, this was a better one of these segments?
Yeah.
Dear Lord Jesus, how bad could the other ones have been?
Way worse. Way worse.
Bad. They've all been bad. And Louise says, as a former transfer student, why the hate, Bodie? Because Bodie doesn't like foreigners. There you go. That's why. Hey, here's a Weapons Wild match with Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade, and you'd think there would be somebody back there that could teach Roxanne Perez how to swing a skateboard at somebody with menace. You'd think that whoever was laying this match out wouldn't just have Cora Jade throw a trash can lid at Roxanne, who knocks it out of the air. Well, doesn't knock it out of the air, just kind of bunts it with her skateboard. And you do that exact spot 5 times in a row. Trash can lid, bunt. Trash can lid, bunt. Trash can lid, bunt. Trash can lid, bunt. Broom, bunt. Like, it's what is this? What? This was doomed, I would argue, from the very beginning, when you had Cora turn on Roxanne for zero reason, out of the blue, while they were still tag champs, a week after they became tag champs. This was all like right about now. I would argue at the earliest is when you should have done the turn. Have them defend the tag titles on the same show that Cora Jade has an NXT women's title match, and they lose the title match, but Roxanne wins the title somehow. But like now she's celebrating by herself, and Cora Jade doesn't like that, because if you had been actually focusing on our titles, then maybe we would have been able to keep them and we'd be champions together. But you wanted to go off and big time me, and you would have been able to actually show that happening over the course of several months, as opposed to never. Like, you never showed it happening, and so it's always felt like less than. And this was not laid out well, I would argue. I really, really like Roxanne. I think Cora Jade has a lot of potential, but not as a heel, because this isn't working for me. There was a stupid moment where they had to do it so they could do the spot, where Cora Jade runs up the stands to get to the Raven's Nest, and Roxanne follows her, where they specifically say, as she's following her, this match has to end in the ring. So Cora Jade runs up there as a coward, and Roxanne Perez puts a chair in the ring, sits there, gets a microphone, says, "You can't win this match from up there. get back here. I'm not following you. I don't know what you've got planned up there. I'm too smart for this. Because that would make her somebody we want to root for, not this, which is bad. The spot up there where they're fighting and Roxanne thinks twice about punching her friend. You know, my best friend. Think of remember that time in New York where that was that one thing that happened? Oh my God. That
I had to
was
borrow your
so
sweatshirt
bad.
because I could still coffee on my...
Okay. So if you had actually taken the time to tell the story over weeks and weeks, you could have built to a moment where we would have seen them being friends and watched that friendship dissolve slowly. And so we kind of would have empathized with both of their points of view. And maybe this would have been a moment you could actually have milked for actual emotional resonation, but they didn't. So her not punching and not trying not to punch, and then she kind of like just turns around and they both Russian leg sweep each other off the Raven's Nest through the table.
Don't worry.
Like, there's a moment where you could have Cora Jade go, please, please, please don't do this. Like, everything got so crazy. I was out of hand. It's all my fault. You know, I still love you. You know, I want us to be friends again, please. And you could have Roxanne be dumb enough to go for a hug and then have Cora Jade smile at her. And then they both go over because Cora Jade pulls them. Like, and then they both, but you could have it so Roxanne twists and all of the brunt goes onto Cora Jade. And then Roxanne saying like, this is the last time I ever fall for any of your bullshit. And then she beats the hell out of her, hits the pop rocks on the chairs and wins the same way. But that entire thing was built around this moment of emotional resonance, which completely fell flat because the spot going off the top looked like shit. And you never gave them the opportunity to really be friends on screen. So we don't give a shit if they're friends now. Like, all of this could have been so much better if had the promoters actually taken the time to make the storyline matter, to make the heel turn believable, and they did none of those things. And so this just felt really bad to me.
There was a disconnect in the story, as you pointed out, and with the execution of what they had built in the ring tonight, unfortunately for me as well. I think all those weird moments with Roxanne were supposed to be like, I can't do this to my former friend, but they didn't come off right. Like, I think it's supposed to be that, like, that baby face thing of, and in their defense, Roxanne should be a pure baby face. Like, she comes across as like the babiest baby face, of like, she wants to go hit her with something, but she just can't do it. And they did that like 5 times. So if you keep going to that, well, it has to look like that's what it was supposed to be, and not just like that she was sincerely scared to lay her shit in. But you also have to have her either getting closer to being able to do it and still not do it, or you have to have her connect one of the times finally, like she got past that mental barrier. That would have been great. But it did not translate that way, unfortunately. Them going up into the Raven's Nest, as we affectionately call it, I felt like the move was to have Cora Jade move out of the way and have Roxanne fall through the table herself. Like, give that sinister look. It's Halloween Havoc. Have her do the spot that you were just talking about of just like, please don't do this, please don't do this. And either Roxanne is smart enough and she couldn't lay those shots in with all those instruments, like all the tools with the broom, with the skateboard, but she can just push her. She's able to do that because she's getting more aggressive throughout the match. Or what I think would have been a better spot of like, you were dumb enough to follow me up here, you're dumb enough to fall down, boom. But then, because the match has to end in the ring, Roxanne gets in the ring and Cora Jade is flaunting about or whatever, and she doesn't go down there or whatever. Like, there's ways to have done it that way, but I think because the story was so muddy getting out of the gate that the story didn't translate in the ring. But on the short term and the longer term, unfortunately, this didn't work for me. I am glad that Roxanne won because I think they are probably setting up for her to take the title from Mandy, is my guess. I don't know when they're going to do it, but it does feel like that has to be, if it wasn't Alba Fyre tonight, who the hell is it? who the hell feels important enough in the NXT women's division right now, especially with Nikita Lyons being tied up with Zoe Starks in this tag thing, like who's gonna feel like someone that can get handed off to, that's gonna have it, that it's gonna mean something. Like, I think she is still your star of the future, so I think that's where it's gonna go. But yeah, this unfortunately didn't work for me. Like that spot off the Raven's Nest wasn't great. The hesitations to lay stuff in didn't come across as storytelling. It just came across as like weakness. And I don't think it helped that going into this wasn't like a really well told story. And we had the regime handoff within all of that, right? So none of that helps. And Cora Jade just hasn't. The most important Cora Jade has felt was War Games of last year, where she like did something and she was being built up as a face, and I didn't really like the build, but they were at least telling a story of something that was working, and this heel turn for me hasn't worked at all.
Yeah. The heel turn I think might have worked for me had it felt motivated at the time.
Sure.
And I also think they're not writing her very well as a heel.
No, not at all.
You know,
not
so
the closest they got was when she was like shooting on the rest of the locker room.
And the thing is, she is still very young. I think that she might have the chops to pull off a character like this when she's 8 years into her career, which would put her at like 26. So like yeah, she could absolutely do this when she's further into her career. That's what NXT is supposed to be for. But it would really help where you are actually not saying, okay, we know you've been this character, this cutesy poo underdog skater girl for the entire time you've been here. Starting today, you're a different person entirely. Go. You can't do that to this level of performer. They're not ready for that yet, and that's not her fault. That's their fault. So yeah, that's always been my point of it. So yes, at least Roxanne wins, and I like your idea of Roxanne pinning Mandy. At this point, I'm convinced that the Earth will crash into the sun before Mandy Rose loses the NXT Women's Championship. That's what I'm convinced of at this point. So, yes, Dominic Dijakovic is coming back to.
Evidently, great reveal.
I mean, I liked the subtlety of the T-Bar mask being burned. He doesn't even wear that anymore, by the way. He just wrestles. He's still called T-Bar in the main roster, even though he never gets a spot on Raw. There was a thing, God, I wish they had done this because it would have been so friggin' great. And I'm actually upset that they're bringing him back. If they don't bring him back to NXT to win a title, I'm going to think that this other thing would have been better. Because during the whole Mustafa Ali and Seth Rollins brawl at the end of Raw, T-Bar, Dominic Dijakovic, tweeted out, "I hate Mustafa Ali." And I was like, he does, doesn't he? And Seth Rollins is a really great manipulator, and he could really use a heavy.
Yes.
Like Seth Rollins walking around with Dominic Dijakovic behind him, and if Mustafa Ali wants a shot at that title, he's got to beat T-Bar, who he never could. Like,
if anybody wants a shot at that title,
but I mean, but specifically Mustafa Ali, that storyline of having to go through the big bruiser to get to Seth Rollins, is an amazing role for T-Bar to play. If he's going to come back to NXT and be as big of a player in NXT as he was when he was there before, maybe even a bigger player and actually win a belt, that'd be great. But I just saw Apollo Crews come back and do a My Eye is Bloody feud with Grayson Waller, and that ain't worth it for Dijak to come back.
Well, and isn't it supposed to be developmental now? Like this guy doesn't need to develop anymore. That hasn't been the problem. So I don't know. I think you do still need people that are pretty polished to help the people that are developing along, and he could certainly be very valuable in that regard. But I don't know. I'm glad Sean likes that he's coming back and blatantly that was said, but I would have preferred a storytelling nuance to go alongside of that.
Me too.
But I want to see him on my screen, so that rules. If
more Dijak matches. Like I mean, he's been doing it a long time, and that dude's not shy about taking bumps.
Yeah.
So the more TV matches I get to see from him between now and whenever he hangs it up, the better. He was woefully misused on the main roster, like from T-Bar to And there was that awesome time where it looked like Bobby Lashley and MVP had hired like the former Mace and T-Bar to be bodyguards for Lashley to go to have matches with Drew and Braun Strowman. There was that weird time in the Thunderdome where there was like a week or two where it was like, hey, these guys could be like the new APA, just like heels for hire. Like, that would be fun, but they never paid off on any of that stuff. And now Massey is hanging out with Mansois. So, yeah. Hey, so Shotzi and Quincy. Quincy was dressed as a banana.
Yes. Whose peel did not snap in the middle.
Nope. And and Shotzi was dressed like Beetlejuice. It's showtime. And I love Beetlejuice. I thought it was a fun costume, cool little moment. What were they doing exactly, both of them, before Lash Legend came out? Because they weren't really hosting anything. Like, it would be one thing if they got to be like guest ring announcers for the whole thing, but they didn't really host and whatever. So Lash Legend comes out to cut a promo.
It felt very John Cena-y when John Cena would be like, man, let's just have a random recap of the night with me on the mic. Shotzi was like, you've seen caskets, you've seen whatever. Like, it was very hosty, but not of a wrestling show.
Yeah, but the Lash Legend came out to talk crap. Quincy talked crap back. And then Shotzi got in the middle by screaming and then hit a DDT on Lash Legend. And Lash Legend and Shotzi are having a match next week on NXT because reasons.
I mean, I did kind of like that Lash Legend had said, like, hosting's kind of my thing. Like, why wasn't I even considered as a pretty fair complaint, I think. And then Quincy saying that lashing out was canceled or whatever is fine. I don't think the best move for Lash Legend or Shotzi is for them to face each other right now. I can't see that going very well stylistically, and experience gap wise. I think that is maybe a more dangerous call. They could have done safer things. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Lash Legend has a point of like, hey man, like, hosted a whole talk show. I wasn't even nobody. My name wasn't even in your mouth. Right. You looked great. I just don't think we need that match set up right now.
No.
I don't know who that helps.
No, because Lash Legend can't win that match. Can't possibly win that match. Shotzi's doing things now, finally.
Yeah, I'd hope
on the main roster, you know. So yeah, weird. So you had a whole wheel that you could spin to make a deal. There were lots of things you could do on it. You didn't do it on TV, but even if you did, you could stop it anywhere. You could stop it anywhere. You could have had there are so many things that were on that wheel.
Shotzi could have spun the wheel. Quincy could have spun the wheel.
Right.
They would have had a great time.
Here's the thing. If you have a card that already has an ambulance match on it, you cannot then choose to put a casket match on the show. It is the same match. It is put a guy in a space and then close a door on that guy, and that guy stops the door from being closed and then gets out and puts the other guy in the space and closes the door on him. It's the same match. It's already bad. It's like to me, it's not a compelling gimmick match. And then you're going to do two of the same on the same show. What is wrong with you? Why would you do that to yourself intentionally? That should be a jailable offense.
I agree with you. And I think the casket match actually suffered in this more because I thought, as far as dumb ambulance matches go, and that's the only type, this one was pretty good. And a large reason why is because Damon Kemp is pretty good, and Julius Creed is incredible.
Right.
Unbelievable megastar rising through the ranks right now. Mm-hmm. And it didn't feel, considering how gimmicky an ambulance match was, this didn't feel overly gimmicky. Like, I don't think anybody was trying to tilt over the ambulance. Like, normally ambulance matches, I feel like end up being like a strong dude thing. And this was kind of just like, it seemed like they were trying to win the match the whole time, I guess. And there was a lot of really great wrestling that happened outside of those spots. So this I felt like was a way cleaner produced version of that same match. And I think the casket match looked worse off for it.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, like one of the two has to suffer by comparison.
Yes.
To me, it was entirely the casket match. But the problem with this ambulance match, okay, is you are in an arena that does not allow the ambulance to be parked in a place where any of the people in the arena can see it. So if you're going to have an ambulance match, you got to bring the ambulance out so the crowd can see it. If you don't, then you have to have the people in the ring like carry the other guy to the ambulance, put him in the ambulance, try to close the door. The guy can't close the door, gets out, and then they got to go back into the arena so they can do the match, most of the match in front of people. But once you get that close to the ambulance, you need to stay close to the ambulance in case you can just quickly get a guy in the ambulance and close the door. It makes no sense for you to go all the way back to the... That is a problem. Like, and when they were trying to back the ambulance in, do you happen to notice the guy who's like, hey, this way, because he was going to crash into the wall? Maybe let's not do ambulance matches in very small warehouses. Let's save them for arena matches. I mean, arena events, because it was really kind of funny.
Or let's just never do them again.
But there you go. I will say that I really did enjoy the Bron versus Roman ambulance match. The only problem was they immediately negated the result of it.
Yeah.
Because Bron won, he closed the door. And then the door flew open and Roman speared Bron by diving out of the ambulance and got all of his heat. Can a babyface get his heat back? But that's exactly what he did in the moment, because they let Bron win it, but then immediately Bron got his ass kicked. So that's not quite great. But the match itself was dope. This was good. I would say Julius is, as you said, he's incredible. And he's so incredibly athletic, and he tells a story really well in the ring. And I think that Damon Kemp is coming along. They mentioned that the first time we saw him in Diamond Mine was May, and I'm like, really? He's come along pretty far since that first couple of matches we saw him in Diamond Mine. So that's good. So that's good for him. And then we get a power bomb onto a gurney is the final thing. There's wearing him out with a chair and everything. I thought that the substance of the match, where they were actually wrestling and fighting, was good. Everything around the ambulance of this guy stuck a crutch in the door, so the door can't close. But I am going to try and close the door 12 times, even though there's a crutch in the way and it can't close. I did like the moment of, I'm not losing this match. I don't care if you break all my fingers. That I thought worked, cool. But it would have worked better had we not seen a whole bunch of earlier things of guys trying to put their foot or a crutch or something else in the way, because it kind of diminished the impact of like, no, seriously, you're not going to do this. But also the stipulation sucked. Of Brutus has to leave NXT.
Yeah, that
why not weird. Both of you? Like, because then honestly, I was like, do they really want to add a third guy to the Alpha Academy? But only a third guy, not a fourth guy.
Yeah, like, how would you be like, Julius doesn't fit in here?
I have no idea what the whole point of the stipulation was, but the Creeds get to stay together at least, and that's.
I think it was supposed to be like, how are you going to deal? How are you going to live your life without your brother, kind of thing? Because we know that the assumption is that he would go to the main roster. In NXT world, we're supposed to believe that he's just kicked out of wrestling, right? Yeah. So that's fair. I thought the wheelchair spot was real goofy. That was stupid, and not in a fun Halloween Havoc way, in this got in the way of the match way. But my God,
I actually would have loved, like, I put you in the wheelchair. You can't get out because I've shoved a crutch in there, so you can't get out. and that's how I'm going to wheel you all the way into the ambulance, and then you're sitting there, and we'll protect it because you can get your arms up, but one bunk with a chair, pick you up out of the other wheelchair, throw you in, that's the end of it. To like put him in the wheelchair only to like run him into the steps and have him, while being pushed, do this was not great. But
it's
the idea
giving
of
like
could have
2012 Zack Ryder vibes.
Yeah, that is true. That was true.
Not good.
Yeah.
So I will say that Julius Creed just obviously continues to impress, but this did make the casket match feel like a snooze. And darn it, Alex, if you're gonna snooze,
well, yeah, I like to snooze.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love a good nap? You're gonna want to snooze in the best sheets possible, in my opinion, at least. I think you would want something that was like cozy and temperature controlled. And darn it, if Sean Ross Sapp doesn't have the best information on the best sheets.
The only good dirt sheets are here at Fightful. You don't want dirt sheets on your bed. That's why you need Miracle Brand. TryMiracle.com/Fightful. That's TryMiracle.com/Fightful. Get a free 3-piece towel set. Save 40% off. These sheets are fantastic. They have great comfort, great quality with those premium 500 thread count sateen weaves that are made with USA-grown Supima cotton. One of the highest quality cottons in the world. It's better for your skin. Stop sleeping on bacteria. These Miracle Brand sheets help prevent 99% of bacteria, require 3 times less laundry than regular sheets, and they're self-cooling with silver-infused fabrics originally developed by NASA. TryMiracle.com/Fightful. Again, TryMiracle.com/Fightful. Save 40% and get 3 free towels. How can you beat that? Get rid of your dirt sheets, well, besides us, and get Miracle.
Yeah. It'll be a miracle if Damon Kemp's brother ever sees TV, apparently, because he is not doing too well considering what they thought that Gable Steveson was going to be. Michael Branson saying all this hype for Gable Steveson, including a draft pick on Raw, and his brother is the one with the storyline. And I'm assuming they're going to do more with Damon Kemp going forward. He's got to have a match versus Roddy when Roddy gets healthy, right? Like they got to do that. Like, you ran me over, so.
I kind of, before we got the news that maybe Gable Steveson wasn't as far along as they were hoping, thought this was going to be like brothers versus brothers, Creeds versus.
I think they probably assumed that too.
Yeah, and I feel like people's expectations of Damon Kemp were lower. So maybe they want to make sure he's like good and ready is the only thing I could think. Because I think they were like, this guy's going to be a main roster star. And then we're like, oh, maybe not so much. So.
Big C, that's me, says, shouldn't an ambulance match imply that the person getting taken away is hurt and needs to be taken to the hospital? It didn't seem like they did that. Well, no, they did take him to the hospital. The ambulance drove away with Damon Kemp inside, and that's actually the worst part of losing a match. The ambulance match is that you got to foot the bill for the ambulance trip to the hospital, which is like $1,000 to take you in an ambulance to the hospital. That's not cheap. There's no way those NXT kids have good insurance.
No,
which they have
that NXT salary ain't paying the copay well either. So
yeah. But what I did like was that they went directly from the ambulance leaving the arena to Alba Fyre driving up, and they were like immediate continuation. I thought that was really good because it dispensed with all the other BS and just went right into the match, which was nice because it felt like this whole thing was kind of dragging.
I love stuff like that. AEW used to do that all the time, and they don't do that anymore. But I would love it when like wrestlers would be coming down the ramp and up the ramp at the same time and kind of acknowledge each other. Yeah. Like, I love that stuff. So I was happy they did that too.
Yep. So as we said, we had Mandy Rose and Alba Fyre, and the Tandy Rose was doing. The match was going along fine, right? And I don't know, so Gigi and JJ took an Uber back from they were driving a long time to get to this haunted house. So I must have Ubered back and got there just in time to cost Alba Fyre the match. This entire plan that she had put together to get those two girls the hell far away from the arena as possible, trap them somewhere where they could not help Mandy Rose, and then they just did. There was a ref bump, if I'm not mistaken. Terrible, stupid ref bump, and then the kiss from a rose, knee by Mandy Rose, and the slowest possible 3 count to just really stick it to Alba Fyre and make sure nobody ever takes her seriously ever again. This is Kaylee Ray, who held the women's championship in NXT UK for 700 days or something. She's an amazing wrestler, one of the best in the world, and all you did with this entire storyline was undercut her forever, and that to me is unforgivable. Have her lose the match if you're going to have her lose the match. Don't have her mastermind the perfect plan and then have it backfire anyway, because that makes her look like an idiot.
Especially with no knowledge of how they got out.
Right.
We saw Gigi Dolan get put in a freezer. I would like to know how she escaped the freezer.
Right.
I didn't expect them to tell me that because they had a Steiner just get kidnapped and then be unkidnapped without any explanation. I would like to know how they got out of that snafu. You spent a long time telling me all about this snafu. Explain to me how they got out of it would be nice.
That'd be nice.
And actually, I thought the match was pretty decent. I thought Mandy looked fine, and I thought Alba Fyre did a really good job handling their size disparity a little bit, because it is noticeable, and a lot of times things like that can get clumsy. Charlotte's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world, and I've seen that happen with her and Sasha sometimes. Just literal, I'm just that much taller than you stuff can get in the way. And I thought she had some really nice. She had something that looked a little bit like a sidewalk slam. That was a nice counter in here that I thought that was really cool. I think Mandy looked fine, and I thought the match was. I'm with you, going well. I wish they would have just had Miss put some respect on my name, not have to have people interfere to win it. And this isn't even their fault. We just get so many dumb ref spots in all of wrestling, especially AEW, that now when I see one, even though it's not NXT that abuses it, I'm just so sick of them. And again, that's not even on them. This one wasn't even the most egregious one. This one at least made some sort of sense. I just wish that they hadn't gone so far out of their way to, as you said, kind of undercut what ended up making Alba Fyre look kind of dumb. If she's not winning here, send her up. She could do so many cool things on the main roster. I feel like the main roster could use some love. I think her and Doudrop could do some really cool stuff as a tag team.
They'd be so great together.
They definitely need more women of color on the roster too. That's not lost on me, considering it's just pretty much Bianca and B-Fab, I think, right now.
And B-Fab doesn't wrestle, at least hasn't yet. So
not right now, no. So I think they could use a little shakeup, because the tag titles story has just been Raquel plus a friend versus Dakota and Io. So if you're gonna have her lose here, I don't know what else there is left for her to do in NXT. You might as well call her up. I thought maybe Mandy drops and Toxic Attraction goes up. That seemed like it would make a whole lot of sense to me.
Gav has the perfect, very succinct thing to describe this. Do that whole bit to remove the outside interference, and then just do it anyway.
Yes.
So it's like when they do now we're going to have a steel cage match, which means no one can interfere, and then they do. They just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Or they do, this guy's manager is really getting involved all the time. You know what we're going to do to make sure he can't get involved? We're going to suspend him over the ring in a shark cage. And then he just drops a chain or a hammer or something out of the cage during the match, and the guy cheats anyway. It's just, don't go through all the rigmarole to suspend this one thing and then have, like, if you're going to do all this, we have a wonderful opportunity to either my choice, have Kaylee Ray, Alba Fyre beat Mandy Rose, or put some respect on Mandy Rose's name when she's out there one-on-one at a disadvantage because of how Kaylee Ray has sabotaged her theater place.
Softened her up.
Have her win anyway. Now, you can have her do it via chicanery, but it's got to be her own that she comes up with by herself and not just her stooges show up and get the ref distracted. Like, just have her win by her wits if she can't win by her ability. Sometimes the heel is just the better wrestler. I always say it because it has to be true. It has to. And they don't like doing it that way. And yeah. As
I cannot put respect on your name that way. Like, if you're going to keep shoving that down my throat, you cannot be Mandy Respect Rose. I cannot put respect on your name because I have no reason to, because the only thing you've ever told me is that you're hot and that you need other people's help to win. That's not... MJF cheats all the time to win. He's not asking for people's respect. He's asking for money all the time. Perfect. Like, that's fine. But I can't put respect on your name if you're going to cheat constantly. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Gav saying, well, you've established she doesn't have only 2 friends. So what if Sonya shows up and helps her here? Like, I would hate it because they've still never resolved that thing for me. But at least you've already established she doesn't just have 2 friends. There's another person who can come out and do it to solve the thing. But no, you know. And Doc Mueller says they had the perfect setup to take the title off of Tandy Rose and screwed it up. At least I can rely on you guys to be good. Well, thank you, Doc Mueller.
Oh, thank you.
You know what else you can rely on to be good? Ilja Dragunov.
Oh boy, can you?
And to a lesser extent, the former
JD
Jordan
McDonagh.
Devlin. JD McDonagh, Google me.
I'm so mad we had that joke and Kevin Owens did it better than us.
Yep. Me too. And Bron Breakker is he really it is we forget about how short of a time he's been wrestling. We like, oh, it's just because he's got, like, listen, if the argument that, oh, he's a Steiner, of course he's good, is immediately disproven by the existence of Dominic Mysterio. So anytime somebody comes at you with, he's a Steiner, obviously, then all you do is just show them a picture of Dominic Mysterio, and that disproves the argument.
Okay.
This was a really great triple threat. I would argue the first part of it was establishing a lot of the tropes they were going to use for the rest of it. But the second half was great. Great. Everything paid off, like amazing tickets being sold literally everywhere. As Jake says, he says Dragunov needs to be on the main roster yesterday, and those 3 guys in the main are way too good for NXT. It is a shame that I can't. I don't know what main roster Triple H does with an Ilja Dragunov. I don't know what you do with that. I don't know what he does with a JD McDonagh, because like the roster is full of people who aren't being used, who are really, really good. Like Angel Garza's really good. When's the last time you've seen an Angel Garza singles match where it wasn't 2 minutes long? Like, there are a bunch of guys on the main roster who are really good, and we don't get to see them do stuff. So in NXT, at least they get these spots. That sucks because they deserve better than that. But they're not. I don't know what they would be used like on the main roster. Honestly, don't.
Dragunov would be great in a mid-card situation, and Dragunov would be great in a stable, like him and Tyler Bate, and give me someone else against Imperium for like 6 months. By me.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying. Like, he's not to be this corny about it, but it's Halloween Havoc night. We'll be corny about stuff. He is a pro wrestler. and the main roster has gotten so much better, and there's some really great pro wrestling that happens on there, but it's still a sports entertainment product. Yeah. And he is like a pro wrestler through and through, which is awesome. And he did such a good job. God, he was so great in this match tonight. And they all were, but like there's the guy, I think of like my sister's an improviser, and it's so crazy how you see certain improvisers make other improvisers so much better. It felt like that a lot in this match, and JD don't Google me, and Bron Breakker don't need that much help. So it just made it all the sweeter. That Frankensteiner into a powerbomb spot was one of the coolest spots I've ever seen in wrestling. Like that was so
overrated.
Rad.
Overrated.
I loved it. I know it didn't do a ton, but it's still cool as hell.
It was cool that he caught him, but it literally did no more damage to McDonagh than if he hadn't been caught. Like if you catch him and you actually force him to the ground more, he's like literally, I'm going to die. It actually helped him because he broke his fall on Dragunov catching him for a split second.
Don't you redirect the momentum down instead
you don't.
Of
like I watched that GIF 100 times trying to figure out why everybody liked it more than me. I don't see it. It was cool to look at, but it did nothing.
I think because I've never seen it before. Like I'll always pop.
I'll grant you that.
That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
And I like it would at least seem, if it didn't do more damage, it would seem like a great way to go and steal someone else's pin. Like, haha, I just caught this dude and now I'm gonna go in for the pin. Like, that's a pretty creative offensive maneuver. Right. So I like it for that reason too. But it is so cool when you see a wrestler, especially in a triple threat more than anything else, make the other two guys in there look better while also looking incredible yourself. And he's always like, I feel like any match I've seen Dragunov in, he's been that way. His match versus Gunther is probably one of the few that didn't, because it just didn't just didn't need it. It was just like beauty unfolding until your hatred for the ending, which is fair. But I see you, Jake Salazar. I get that, but I'll buy it.
Back hit the mat before he got on the powerbomb. It's overrated. Listen, it was really spectacular to look at, but honestly, like the practicality of it didn't do anything. I would have loved to have seen him get Frankensteinered onto a guy's shoulders who then power bombs him, like a Fakey and Eichner type of power bomb. Like that would have been really cool. But this was
I can buy it for I'm gonna steal that guy's pin. That's enough for me.
Fine. I'm good with that.
If it was a stronger near fall of like, hey, I caught this guy and now I'm gonna take the pin after he waited this nasty Frankensteiner.
There was the big thing where there was the Torpedo Moscow, and then I believe the JD sliding into the ring to stop the ref's hand from hitting the mat, which I was like, yeah, I guess it's the same thing as the one you always see, which is wrestler reaches in, grabs ref, pulls him out of the ring. It's the same basic deal. I've never seen it before, but I also feel like it's the ref's discretion to be like, no, that was going to be 3. I'm sorry. You're stopping my hand. Your hand is on the mat. I hit your hand. That's 3. I think the ref should be able to go, what are you doing? But
that's fair.
I'll allow it. It was cool to look at when it happened.
I also appreciated that they did it from angles where he couldn't have broken up the pin either. If you do that spot when you could have just broken up the pin, you look like an idiot. But both times he would have been way short of breaking up the pin. And so he went for the ref. So it was like at least a logical choice in that regard too. Right. But I also kind of had that complaint, and that I was like, that's when those things I'll just give to like, it's wrestling. That's all right. I
really did enjoy the animosity that they're carrying over between McDonagh and Ilja Dragunov from their time in NXT UK. I love that that's part of the storyline. Bron Breakker winning with his massive spear. It's the best spear in professional wrestling to me. Like that thing is, there's so much velocity behind it. I do not know how he gets his body moving that fast in that short of its time of a span. It's like 5 feet. He goes from 0 to 60. It's crazy.
That's the football player thing coming into play.
Well, no, he's got that. But a lot of these guys or was his thing. Goldberg used to have that velocity 25 years ago. Now it looks like he's just putting his shoulder down and walking. But yeah, I know. It's true.
You know what's funny? I love. I almost said Goldberg spear. Take that back. I love Break a Curse spear, and I love Ricky Starks' spear. And it's such a simple move, and they're both of them deliver that so differently, and I love them for different reasons. Yeah. Like Break a Curse, the velocity that he builds up. Starks, it's just with his whole body, like the commitment of it, and I love both of them. But this really, really, really was fantastic. I kind of felt like, all right, call Bron up. But now seeing his match with Tyler Bate and seeing this match, I'm like, let him have more of these. After things got so truncated with the post-Dolph stuff. Like, let him have more matches like this before he goes up, because that'll just be such a cleaner entrance into the main roster, I think. So I'm kind of glad that he came out victorious tonight. I think that was a perfectly fine move.
Jake saying, boy, howdy, does Braun spear like 2001 Goldberg? I said like 98 Goldberg. Shave a few more years off of it. Like Goldberg, when he was just coming up, like that, he just threw all of his weight into that thing. He cut dudes in half. Jake Salazar says also, I just wish we could see Minoru Suzuki versus Ilja Dragunov. But WWE is petty and stupid and hates money if it means having other promotions on their show.
Well, honestly, we'll see what becomes of Dragunov. I don't know.
I don't know. Exactly. I don't know either. But here's something some people are saying in the chat that I love. Now, I'm on record saying I don't like this kayfabe entry for Sheamus, if it is kayfabe indeed, and they're writing him off for some reason, because I wanted a triple threat Brawling Brutes versus the three Uso brothers match. Damn it. That was owed to me. And you took away Sheamus, and then there's no triumvirate. But what if Sheamus is somehow friends with Ilja Dragunov? And that's the third guy they bring up to feud not only with the Usos, but also to like bring as like their secret weapon against Gunther. Like that would be really interesting. An Imperium versus Pete Dunne, Ilja Dragunov, and Ridge Holland would be an amazing match, I think, as long as Ridge doesn't get too involved. Tony Chapa says, hey guys, longtime listener, first time subscriber and chatter. Literally subscribed to Select during the PLE. Are there any plans for a new NXT championship or going back to original design?
First of all, thanks for subscribing. We appreciate that a great deal. And you'll get us behind the paywall doing pay-per-view post shows for most pay-per-views, NXT ones, because we do the Tuesday show. We're on the main for that. But most of them will be on Fightful Select 4, so you can catch us there, and I appreciate that very much. I don't think if they weren't going to do it with the UK belts, they won't do it, I don't think, because the UK belt designs were so beautiful that if when you were unifying all those titles, you don't make it one of them is silly to me. And I feel like they also introduced those belts not long enough ago, and they're not so, they don't have rainbow colored straps or anything. They just kind of look like they were in dish soap with their
right. That's the thing. He also says Bron holding up the 2.0 rainbow belt just isn't doing it for me. There's this weird little sheen to it that looks all rainbow,
like bubble soap, legit.
Yeah, it does look like bubble soap.
I wish they would, but I don't think we've heard any plans. I'm sure Sean would know if they do.
Yeah.
And apparently HBK is just letting it fly over there, so he would just tell you.
Yeah. Jake Salazar saying that would sound like they copied the blood and guts storyline but changed it so it wasn't obvious. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't think of it. I would think of it as, hey Gunther and friends, we found a guy who likes us but hates you, so let's fight their way. And apparently Sheamus is getting married next week, so he's going to take some time off for a honeymoon, which is awesome. Good for him. Good for him. That's awesome. Mazel tov. And they didn't have to take him off NXT with what they called a non-displaced fracture of his elbow. Like, you could say he twisted his ankle, and have him go away for a month. Like now now he's gonna come back. He's gonna have like a cast. He's gonna rip off. What am I saying? That's gonna look awesome.
Yeah.
A couple of things of some housekeeping before we get into the jukebox.
Leave
Sean
a thumbs
Garner
up
says,
on this video.
Please do leave a thumbs up. Sean Garner says, who do you think beats Mandy now? It's got to be Roxanne. If it's not Roxanne, as I said, the earth will crash into the sun. Like, I honestly don't know. They're keeping it on her so she can get her 1 year. Fine. Like, I don't know. Here's the deal. She could have gotten her 1 year because that's like Tuesday, right? Or Wednesday, something like this week. If you had done Halloween Havoc on the 29th instead of the 22nd, which doesn't make any sense, you could have still had her have her 1 year, and then a few days later, she loses the title to Kaylee Ray, as God intended. Like, whatever. But yeah, it's got to be Roxanne, right?
I would think so. I would think so. That just also seems like I'm trying to think. Who else would it be? Like, I would love for it to be Wendy Chu, but I don't think they're going to do that with this gimmick. Yeah, it's got to be her, and I think it makes sense for a lot of reasons. One, I think she might be your woman that's there right now with maybe the most potential. And two, that's just a nice, healthy, clean track for someone who's extremely young. Like I think 20 years old or 19 years old young. There's people that are young in this business, and then there are babies who it might be irresponsible, as great as she is, to fully call them up to the main roster. Like, make sure that their sea legs are there. That would just be silly not to.
Yep. Jake Salazar also asking the very tough questions. If in canon there is a Chase U, why not have one of those rubes walk around the parking lot like a hallway monitor, but always gets their ass beat?
That's actually hysterical. I love that.
That's a good idea. Do that. That's good. Jake Salazar again. Deep Pockets, and Jake Salazar says Von Wagner was trying to be somebody of color with them cornrows.
He was.
Yeah.
He was.
Luis says it should be Wendy Chu. Probably not. But Dragon Chu could beat Mandy Rose. Right? Yes, maybe Austin Theory cashes in on Mandy Rose. It's possible.
I was very glad we didn't get an Austin Theory cash in.
Listen, I knew they weren't, because if they were going to, there's zero reason why you tease it on Wednesday. Zero reason to do it. Like the spot of everyone's down, everyone's gone, like been killing each other for 25 minutes, and then you hear A-Town down for the first, and nobody's even thought of it.
Yeah,
People would be like, what's going on? It would be really, really great.
Tiffany Stratton is what I didn't think of that could dethrone Mandy.
They got to do something with her. That's the thing, is I want somebody to dethrone Mandy Rose on Tuesday, and if not on Tuesday, then a week from Tuesday, and if not a week from Tuesday, then 2 weeks from Tuesday. I don't want to have to wait 6 months for it. Get it to me now. I'm done with Toxic Attraction. Put them on the main roster. They're a main roster ready act. Do it. I don't need any more Mandy Rose. Don't need her. Then her stooges cheating on her behalf in every match. Just done with it.
I agree.
Collins G says, "Hi fam. I really do not like Mandy Rose as champion or the women's match at all. Rox is my only pick for the title change. First feud with Cora. Oh, they probably would saddle us with that, wouldn't they? They make Roxanne champion only to have her feud with Cora Jade in the first feud. I think that's run its course. I think it's run its course. I don't
at
want
least put it in the background
while.
for a while. Yeah,
I don't need
you can gas that up whenever you want, but they gotta lay off that for a bit.
Yes. So Eugene Solis, 5-month member, says, how about them Yankees go Stros? Yes, I'm from Houston. I'm sorry.
Thanks for the money, nerd.
I was thinking, because Bron Breakker came out with a shovel and there were 2 gravestones. There was Ilja Dragunov and and JD McDonagh, and he turned around with a shovel and batted righty and knocked over one of the gravestones. And they turned around and batted lefty and knocked over the other gravestone. I mean, that guy's got some serious power.
Not gonna allow it. Alex can come back when he thinks about what he's done. I don't appreciate Yankee slander from my co-host. You want to pay money to send in your Yankee slander? That's fine. We'll make money here. I've heard it all. I'm a Yankees fan. I've heard all of it. But for my own co-host, after burying me on the Friday night show yesterday, after telling me to hurry up on the main so that he could get going, as if him coming onto a show has ever hastened anything in our lives, now he's going to sit here and bury my baseball team? Buck him. Kate.
I was just offering an honest suggestion that maybe they could use him in the lineup. That's all I'm saying.
Cute.
I'm just saying. So, Ricardo the ODV, and and Luis tries to translate old ODV. He says old dirty Vato. I'm guessing
Dirty Vader.
No, it's original decent or ordinary decent villain. That's what it is. It's not old dirty Vato. I watched Havoc and was thoroughly sports entertained. My major gripe is that no one could find an opponent for the big strong boy. Let's get more Tyler Bate on TV all the time. Tyler Bate is so damn good.
He's the best.
Now that might be an interesting choice to like be the guy who replaces Sheamus for a bit. Because we already know Pete Dunne and him will go way, way back. There's some really cool stuff there.
Yeah, but he and Butch don't. I saw the end of that chat. I'm pulling up a CM Punk journal right now.
Who will be the one to dethrone Bron Breakker? Asked Sean Garner. I don't know. Honestly, it entirely depends on their timeline for when they want to bring him up. I don't think that they got they have any need for him on the main roster right now. Like,
no, he shouldn't come up till Rumble at least.
If you're like have him come up and do the spot in the Rumble where he eliminates like 8 guys. You know, and like get people. It's like, oh, look at this guy, and then he can come up and he can go back down to NXT. But like, have him come up every once in a while to defend the NXT title on Raw, whatever. But like, build his following so that when he comes up, people are really excited, and then immediately like have him be the guy. If you're gonna keep the U.S. title on Rollins for a while, have him be the guy who beats Rollins for it. Like he could be that. But he doesn't need to be yet. He's so young. There's no reason to rush him to the main roster. There really isn't.
I would say Apollo Crews should be the guy. I think it'll probably be Grayson Waller. But I'll read this CM Punk journal as Tiffany Stratton.
Requested by Ricardo. Wants Tiffany reading Punk's journal.
I'm just making sure there's no swears in it. Okay, good. I do not look like Sawyer, nor do I resemble Orlando Bloom. My friends call me Punker, and I yell at people who are driving while on their cell phone. Yet I type while I drive. I'm simply a better driver. I cannot stand people who order low-fat, non-fat, anything from Starbucks and then request whipped cream on top. My little sister does this. It drives me nuts. I hate children. No place like home. Toodles. CM Punk doesn't sign his live journal Toodles. That was that was an artistic license that I took.
No, right. Very true. So this is a very odd one, and I don't know that hold on. Let me see if I can listen to it first before I can. I understand. I'm trying to remember. I don't want to do it wrong, you know? Okay. 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 All right, here we go. This is requested by Jake Salazar. Pawlowski beatboxes the FTR theme. Okay. Okay.
Grandpa.
What?
Papa. A lot
Yes.
of people say FTR reminds them of mid-80s NWA. Do you have any stories about mid-80s NWA?
Oh, do I ever? You see, there's this group. They were called NWA, and they standed for something, but I forget what it was. But it was Eazy-E, and there was Dr. Dre, and there was Ice Cube, and there was the NWA, and they had some bangers. Let me tell you what, they had some bangers in that group. That was some fantastic stuff on that album, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was stood for. It wasn't National Wrestling Alliance. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, there's a lot of these are for you because they were sent in on Tuesday, and you didn't have a phone. You had your phone, but nothing else. So here we go. There are a bunch of links here. Jesse Ozog wants you to do Shakespeare as Tiffany Stratton. So there's something there. And so as you do you have that there?
I do.
Okay.
This is so much more fun for me when you were the only one doing it.
I know.
It's so much pressure now.
Oh, good.
Brave warriors, Clifford and Northumberland. Come, make him stand upon this molehill here, that wrought at the mountains with outstretched arms, yet parted but the shadow with his hand. What was it you that would be England's king? Was it you reveled in our parliament and made a preachment of your high descent? Where are your mess sons now back to you? To back you now. I can talk. I'm Tiffany Stratton. This is falling apart. It's fine. The wanton Edward and the lusty George? And where's that villain crookback prodigy? Dickie, your boy with that grumbling voice, was wont to cheer his dad in mutinies? Or with the rest, where your darling Rutland? Look, York, I stained this napkin with blood. That valiant Clifford, with his rapier's point, made issue from the bosom of the boy. And if thine eyes can water for his death, I give thee this to dry thy cheeks withal. Toodles.
Oh, I have seen a lot of when I was in LA for a while, and sometimes you see people doing monologues, and if they're from LA and they sound like that and they're trying to do Shakespeare, it kind of sounds like that. So there you go. That's good. I'll see if I can find one here for myself. Matthew Plus says, "Hello, Al and Wrestling Wench." Thank you, Matthew.
I like
Plus,
that better than Katie.
It's better. Wants Dragula by Rob Zombie, a very Halloweeny song, as sung by William Regal. Dead I am the one, exterminating sun, slipping through the trees, strangling the breeze. Dead I am the sky, watching angels cry, while they slowly turn, conquering the worm. I'd love to conquer your worm, man in the mask. Dig through the ditches, I'll dig your ditch any day. And burn through the witches, I'm going to slam you in the back of my Dracula. Man in the mask, you scrummy. I have a Dracula, and I'll slam you in the back of it. So that's good.
Saucy.
Very saucy. Okay.
I have Britney pulled up.
Yeah, do that.
Britney Spears, Piece of Me by Tiffany Stratton. I miss American Dream since I was 17. Don't matter if I step on this scene or sneak away to the Philippines. They're still gonna put my derriere in magazines. You want a piece of me? I miss Bad Media Karma. Another day, another drama. Guess I can't see the harm in working and being a mama. And with a kid on my arm, I'm still an exceptional earner. You want a piece of me? I miss his lifestyles of the rich and famous. I miss his, oh my God, that Tiffany's shameless. I miss his extra, this just in. I miss his she's too big, now she's too thin. Toodles.
Wait, hold on. Yes, yeah, no. Yes, Luis, we read that. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Okay, so hold on. There's like 3 more here for you. Okay. So, Big C, that's me, wants Darby Allin singing Skater Boy. Perfect, I think. Okay.
It's beautiful.
He was the skater boy. She was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious? He was a punk. She did ballet. What more can I say? He wanted her. She'd never tell. Secretly, she wanted him as well. But all of her friends stuck up their nose. Malachi Black. They had a problem with his baggy clothes. He was a skater boy. She said, see you later, boy. He wasn't good enough for her. She had a pretty face, but her head was up in space. She needed to come back down to earth like you, Malachi Black. There you go.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Now, Zach, the AW mod, said, I needed to add to the jukebox in a troll way. Can we get the New York Princess, Moni, singing What's My Name Again by Blink-182 because Kate loves them so much. Much love to the SGS and Fightful.
Much love to the SGS and Fightful. Here's some Blink-182. I took her out. It was a Friday night. I walk alone to get the feeling right. We started making out. She took off my pants, but then I turned on the TV. And that's about the time she walked away from me. Nobody likes you when you're 23. And are still more amused by TV shows. I mean, what the hell is ADD? My friends say I should act my age. What's my age again? What's my age again? Thank you. The most Blink-182 will be doing.
I love this. Oh snap! The voiceovers are back. Yes. Kate does more of them now because we found out she does a fantastic Tiffany Stratton. So William Regal singing "Tainted Love" by Gloria Jones. Here we go. This is definitely
these pop-up ads are killer.
They really are. Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to get away from the pain. You drive into the heart of me. The love we share seems to go nowhere. And I've lost my right, for I toss and turn. I can't sleep at night. Once I ran to you. Now I run from you. I'll never run away from you, man in the mask. The tainted love you're giving. Give me all of your taint and love. I give you all a girl I could give you. Take not give it. That's not nearly all. Tainted love. Whoa. Tainted love. War games. Now so Tony Choppa says, give me Bait versus Gable. No Otis, no Theory, 15-minute banger. You know what? Give him 20. Give him 20.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it. Jambeer is requesting Yakko's World by Yakko from Maniacs as sung by Tiffany Stratton.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Jamaica, Peru. I'm a kind of a Moni version.
Yes,
I was in the wrong.
You were the wrong one. You can start over. It's okay.
United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru. Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, 2. Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil. Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam. Toodles.
Hold on. I'll get in on this one because I want to do Norway and Sweden and Iceland and Finland and Jimmy and now in one piece. Switzerland, Austria, Czechoslovakia, Italy, Turkey, and Greece. Poland, Romania, Scotland, Albania, Scott Albeo. He was in that Charles and George.
He was.
Ireland, Russia, Oman, Bulgaria, Saudi Arabia, Hungary, Cyprus, Iraq, and Iran. There's Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, both Yemens, Kuwait and Bahrain, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Portugal, France, England, Denmark, and Spain. So there you go.
You had a husband from each one.
I did.
You have many lovers around the world.
Yes, a lover in every port. So let's see here. Okay, we'll do your ding fries are done as Ned, requested by Jambeard. Then our duet, and then me singing an entire song as like 7 people.
Ned hurts so much to do. Yeah. Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. I gotta run. I gotta run. I work at Burger King making flame broiled Whoppers. I wear this paper hat. Would you like an apple pie with that? Would you like an apple pie with that? Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. Ding fries are done. They're coming right for us.
Too late, Graham. Save it for another one, or send in a Humper chat. We're not doing. No, Luis, no more. We ruined her voice. Now we have 2 more to do.
I can do one more. I can do one more, Ned, but you gotta pay for it.
Yeah. Okay. A Shock wants Tiffany and Paw Paw do an American Idiot.
Tiffany and Paw Paw, what a combo!
What a combo! What a combination! Here we go. So hold on. You do verse number 1, and then I'll do the chorus. Okay.
Yeah, we're not doing verse number 2.
No.
Don't want to be an American idiot. Don't want a nation under the new media. And can you hear the sound of hysteria? The subliminal mind, America.
Welcome to a new kind of tension all across the alien nation, where everything isn't meant to be okay. Television dreams of tomorrow. We're not the ones who are meant to follow. That's enough to argue. Right. What? Okay. Jake Salazar wants Paul Pawlowski, Linda Regal, and Nathan Frazer singing Highwayman by the Highwaymen in its entirety.
That's gotta cost some money if you're doing it was a
$10 donation.
Okay.
We're doing these for like $2, so it's fine. So I get it. The Highwaymen. So it's because they're all different ones. Okay. Seriously, we got to find a different a different place to find these that doesn't have pop-up ads all over the damn
All
thing.
of them do. So
All
many of them do.
So we got to figure out a way to do this without. Okay. So wait, what was the order I was supposed to do these in? What was the number? Pawpaw, Linda, Regal, and Nathan Frazer. Here we go. I was a highwayman along the coach roads. I did ride with a sword and a pistol by my side. Many a young maid lost her baubles to my trade. Many a soldier set his lifeblood on my blade. The bastards hung me in the spring of 25, but I'm still alive. I was a sailor. I was born upon the tide, and with the sea I did abide. I sailed a schooner around the Horn to Mexico. I went aloft and furled the mainsail in a blow. Oh, all the things I did in a blow. My goodness, there were just so many blows.
Countless.
And when the yard broke off, they said, I broke off a yard in my time. I broke it right off. And then they said I got killed, but I am living still. I was a dam builder across a river deep and wide, where steel and water did collide, a place called Boulder on the wild Colorado. I slipped and fell into the wet concrete below, sunshine. They buried me in that gray tomb that knows no sound. But I'm still around, I'll always be around, and around and around and around and around and around and around and around. I fly a starship across the universe divide, and when I reach the other side, I'll find a place to rest my spirit if I can. Perhaps I may become a highwayman again, or I may simply be a single drop of rain. But I will remain, and I'll be back again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and Bob's your uncle.
He was crazy tonight, that Nathan Frazer.
He certainly was. I maintain no need to do a lion salt while holding on to another man and force yourself to take a belly bump on a ladder unprotected.
Fair, but also everybody's getting injured over simple moves out here too. So lariats, belly-to-belly suplexes.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into our brand of craziness. And there you go. So yes, we'll see you all for whatever the hell is happening. There's 2 NXT. I guess we should talk about this. They had the challengers talk to the challengers, and the champions talk to the champions backstage for no reason tonight. So there's 2 NXT title matches because God forbid you do anything good enough with the tag title divisions to put them on the actual PLE.
Correct.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, tune in on Tuesday after that, and we'll talk about whatever that is. Until then, keep cool, gabagools. Follow Alex Graps and Ms. Kate Fabe, and keep cool. Everything sucks.